So I took delivery of my Rivian R1T about a month and a half ago. And in today's video, I wanted to discuss my impressions on the initial build quality of my particular R1T and whether it's adequate or if it sucks. Now, the reason I think this is an important topic is because in the news, you'll hear a lot about the poor build quality of these startup manufacturers like Rivian, Tesla, Lucid, I mean, the list goes on. I specifically remember back in 2018 when the Model 3 came out, it was plagued in the news about poor build quality, panel gap issues, and the list goes on. And so I wanted to share my real life perspective, showing you the issues that I've noticed in my car as I've collected notes over the last month and a half. Now, keep in mind, some of the things I point out in today's video, if not all of them, are a little nitpicky, and I fully acknowledge that. They are. I'm a pretty detail-oriented person, and so some of the things that bother me or things that I notice are not necessarily things that would bother you. But that's the point of today's video. I'm showing you, the consumer, what I found in my car, and then you, as the buyer, can determine if that's okay for you to live with or if it's something you would prefer to be a little bit better. Because the fact is, if you're paying $60, $70, $80+ for a vehicle like this, you may expect a certain standard of build quality, and today's video is gonna answer that question for you. Now, just so we're all on the same page, I'm gonna explain the specific trim level that my particular vehicle is. As you can see, we've got some yellow accents underneath the Rivian badging, and that means this vehicle is the quad motor setup. This particular one is a 2023 model year R1T with the quad motor. It's got the adventure package, which is pretty much the only way they sold them back then. Now, you guys may be wondering, how is it that we're almost through 2024 and I'm having a 2023 vehicle and I bought it just about a month and a half ago? Did you buy it used? No, the answer is I actually purchased it new from Rivian, and that's why I was able to get such a good deal, is because this was kind of an older vehicle on their lot. It was just some dated inventory, and they were trying to get rid of it because it just didn't sell in the prior year. And so for that reason, I actually went out to Denver, Colorado to take delivery of this vehicle because this was the last quad motor in the entire United States. I confirmed that with the Rivian service advisors. So this is actually a little bit of an earlier build than compared to some of the new 2025 model years that are hitting the lots today. So this will give you maybe a good representation of what the build quality was like back in 2023, and 2025 is likely going to be better. So without further ado, let's kick off the first thing I've noticed on my Rivian R1T. Okay, one of the first things I noticed when I drove this vehicle back from Denver, Colorado and cleaned it the next day because it was very dirty was something on this gear tunnel door. So as many of you guys know, the Rivian R1T has this gear tunnel that you open this up, and this is a large storage compartment that goes all the way through onto the driver and passenger side. Now, one thing I noticed as I was cleaning this door, every single R1T comes with paint protection film on this particular door. It's awesome. I think it's a fantastic idea because you're constantly touching this door to be able to open and close it. There's no, handle or anything like that. And so if you're holding keys or if you have like a ring, you could easily scratch this surface. So great job, Rivian, on adding paint protection film on this particular panel. The one issue I noticed was, you may be able to see it on camera, but there's these smudge marks located on this paint protection film. And at first I thought, oh, this must have been from me. And so I decided to wipe it down and wipe it down again. And I wiped it down a third time, only to come to the conclusion that these smudge marks are located underneath the paint protection film themselves. So that means that the installer accidentally must have touched a tire or some grease or something, and then they laid this paint protection film over it. And so I can actually remove these smudges without removing the paint protection film and having to reinstall it. Now, I'm sure Rivian would do this for me, and I may actually end up taking it to them to have them do it, but it's really not a huge issue. And as you can see, it's very hard to notice even on camera. You kind of have to be in this general area and have a fully cleaned car to be able to really pay attention and notice that. But that is a little bit of an odd build quality issue on the R1T. Now, for the next thing I noticed on delivery day itself was something in the second row, specifically on the passenger side. So as you can see over here, you have your little grab handle. And as the service advisor was showing me the car, I noticed a couple little smudges located right near this grab handle. Perhaps the same person that did the gear tunnel door happened to touch the interior of the vehicle, and there were some black smudges located on this microfiber suede material. And so I immediately, told the service advisor, and they were great about it. They grabbed their detailer. He came out. He even showed me the specific cleaner that they use. I think it's a Dr. Beasley's is the name of it. And they cleaned it off without a problem, took care of it. But it was just a little bit odd that from the factory, I noticed this little smudge on the vehicle. Now, that's not to say that all vehicles come from the factory clean. I've even heard reports of Tesla Cybertrucks showing up with dirty floor mats. So comparatively, it was a very clean car at delivery. The outside was very clean, but that was just a small little nitpick that I noticed on delivery day. Now, while we're back here on the rear driver's side, I do want to talk about another little build quality issue that I've noticed specifically with this door. And that is the fact that it takes a little bit more effort to shut this door versus all the others. For example, as you saw, I tried to shut it with pretty light pressure and it actually didn't shut, versus the front door, if I did that exact same thing, it shuts very easily. So it takes a little bit more effort to close this door than any other door in this vehicle. Now, I'm not a person that likes to slam my doors because I'm always worried about damaging something. So I find myself having to shut this door 2 or 3 times every time I use it because I never use enough pressure to close it. So I've started to learn that I have to apply more force to this door than any other door in the car. Now, that is something I'm definitely going to address with Rivian. I think they just have to adjust a couple little things over here and on the door itself, and that should be able to make it a little bit easier to close, but just a little bit of an odd thing. Now, speaking of this door, as you'll notice from this particular angle, the door is pretty flat with the C-pillar of the truck. You don't really see any type of pop out, and that's how it should be. Most cars are like that. The door lines up flush with the body panels. The story is a little bit different on the passenger side. As I come over here, you may notice that it actually pops out maybe like 2 millimeters from the C-pillar. So even though the door closes pretty well, similar to all the other doors except for the rear driver's side, the panel gap almost seems like it pops out a little bit more on this side than it does on the driver's side. So I am curious that if I do have Rivian adjust that driver's side door to shut a little bit easier, does that mean this panel gap is going to stick out a little bit more on the driver's side? That's a question I'm going to have to figure out, and I might have to decide, do I want a door to shut a little bit easier but have better panel gap adjustment, or do I want it to shut a little bit harder but be flush with the rest of the vehicle? It's a very small nitpick, but it's something I noticed day 3 of owning this car. Now, while we're back here, let's talk about build quality in this truck bed. Overall, I've been very impressed with it, but the one thing I want to point out in terms of build quality is this particular air compressor flap. So this is not only the air compressor, this is also your gear guard system where you can plug in a cable and then it will lock, so you can store like a bicycle back here and then nobody can tamper with it. But the issue I have is this plastic flap over here, not only does it feel a little bit flimsy, but it always opens up and it's kind of hard to close. It's like you push it and it doesn't really feel like it's very tight. And then whenever you're driving, it will constantly pop out. So despite having to shut it every single time, I will get home and look into the truck bed and this flap will be open. Now that gets a little bit frustrating when this thing is open and I take it through a car wash, because as you can see, water can get into this little air compressor nozzle and I think it can cause it to corrode. So it would be nice if this flap would constantly close. Now this is actually an issue that's not only on my R1T. In fact, I'm part of this local Utah Rivian community on Facebook, and a lot of people have mentioned the same thing. This is just a common problem with the R1T. Interestingly enough, you have a flap on the passenger side that has the power outlets, and that one always stays shut. So I'm not quite sure exactly what technology they used on the passenger side that they didn't use on the driver's side, but it constantly opens up. I've even seen some aftermarket components where people will sell a little key that will pop into this gear guard lock, and it has a little flap that will keep the compartment closed. So if you ever need to use it, you just pop out that key and you can access the air compressor. Otherwise, it will always stay shut. I may end up buying that, but for the most part, it just looks a little bit odd when it's constantly opening up as I'm driving down the road. Now, as many of you know, the Rivian R1T comes with a power-operated frunk. It's a very useful feature. I use it very often, specifically when I go to get groceries. I usually stack it in here instead of inside the cabin where things can roll around. Now, the one issue I've noticed with this particular frunk on my vehicle is a particular sound that happens when I open it up. Now, interestingly, it's not as noticeable because the weather is a little bit cooler today. I found it more noticeable when the temperature was 80+ degrees, but there is a little bit of a creak coming from the rear of the driver's side, as if the hood is rubbing up against some weather stripping or rubber material located on the body panel itself. So it's almost a little bit of a catch, and then it makes no sound after that. So let me show you what that sounds like one more time. Now, hopefully you guys heard that on camera. It really was a lot quieter this time because I think the temperature is a little bit cooler. I think it's specifically this corner right here, and I think the reason it's not making as much sound because it's cooler is because it's rubber. You know, as it's colder, the rubber will shrink a little bit and it fits a little bit better. But in the heat, I'm telling you, I promise the sound was there. The hood would open and make a squeaking sound. Not something that would ever cause issues over time, but it got a little bit annoying to hear my Rivian squeaking every single time I opened the frunk. Now, for the next issue, we're gonna jump into the driver's seat, and it's something that actually just came up in the last couple weeks. So this wasn't something I noticed on delivery day, but as many of you know, Rivians come with something called Gear Guard, which is essentially Sentry mode in Tesla, where it uses the cameras outside of the vehicle to record what's going on while you're away. So if somebody happens to scratch it or ding it, you have evidence on camera, and it kind of saves to a hard drive that's located inside of my center arm console. Well, a hard drive is currently plugged into the vehicle, and I know that because it tells me all the details here. However, it's not showing me any incidents, motion cam, really anything that happened over the last several weeks that this car has been sitting around, you know, when I go to the gym, when I go to work, etc. There's nothing recorded here. And I find that really hard to believe, because before this system stopped working, I happened to park at a movie theater where there was nobody around me, and it would still show some sort of motion that was going on like half a mile down the road. So it's clearly a little bit of a software glitch. Now, I looked up what the issue is, and a lot of people were saying that if you just reset this infotainment screen, it's going to fix itself. So let me actually do that. So they say that if you hold the left and the right buttons on the steering wheel for about 15 seconds, it will automatically reset the system. And there we go, the screens are rebooting. Hopefully this fixes my Gear Guard issue. So it looks like the hard reset worked. It's pulled up an event from a few weeks ago actually, but not anything recent, but at least it's showing me something on the screen, whereas before it was showing me that there was no motion events going on. So hopefully that means that this system will start working again. Now, next up, let's talk about panel gaps. That seems to be a pretty common thing that people bring up when they talk about build quality. Now, I've never really paid attention to this much in the past, aside from my auto body shop back in high school, where we had a little piece of cardboard where you could measure all the different gaps. But in general, I would say it's pretty okay. I mean, aside from that rear passenger door where it's noticeable, I haven't noticed any panel gap issues anywhere else in this vehicle. Now, you could nitpick and say this section of the hood on the passenger side is a little bit wider than the section over here on the driver's side. It's kind of hard to tell on camera, but that could be why I'm getting a little bit of a squeaking sound when the hood opens up. But everywhere else on this vehicle, coming across the side, I really don't see any type of panel gap issues. I think they mostly did a pretty good job on it. It's not something that's really just blatantly out there where things are, you know, rubbing up against each other and causing paint to chip off. Everything seems to be pretty well built. And that brings me to my final point as to how does this compare to all the other vehicles that I have owned? So to be honest with you, I don't find anything that I've discussed in today's video to be a really big build quality issue or something that I haven't really witnessed in any other vehicle I've purchased. Now, obviously, having Gear Guard not working is not something I've experienced in any other vehicle, but that same caliber of issues I've witnessed on pretty much every other car I've owned. For those of you that followed along with my channel for a long time, you'll know that I took delivery of a 2020 Dodge Challenger Hellcat, brand new from the factory in October of 2020. And I love the car. I showed off videos of it and I still own it today. However, I also documented some pretty big issues I had with the car. Now, of course, Dodge is not the poster child of good build quality and reliability. It's funny to even say that. However, Dodge is a storied brand that's been around for over 100 years. And if anybody has at least some sort of idea of how to build or manufacture a vehicle, it would be Dodge. In fact, they were in first place on the J.D. Power initial build quality survey just a couple years ago for a couple years in a row. So they did have some pretty good build quality. However, my 2020 Dodge Challenger Hellcat had some pretty big issues that were worse than anything I've ever seen on this Rivian R1T. The first issue I had was from the factory. When I took delivery of the vehicle, it had bad alignment. I would drive down the road and I have to keep the steering wheel to the left in order to keep the vehicle driving straight down the road. Now, some people would argue that this was not Dodge's fault, but it was the transportation company that loaded the vehicle off the trailer, and something with the wide body and the trailer caused the misalignment. However, a lot of vehicles get delivered off those giant trailers, and no other vehicle of mine brand new has had an alignment issue from day one. The other issue I had was a seatbelt crinkling sound. It almost sounded like a gremlin was sitting behind my left ear and eating a bag of potato chips. And that was an issue I faced the entire time driving the car home from Colorado. Yes, it seems like I buy a lot of cars from Colorado. It just happens to be a funny coincidence. But that issue was resolved. I had to take it to the dealership and they put a bunch of foam into the seatbelt section, and finally that sound went away. But there was a third issue that I noticed from day one of owning the vehicle, and that was that my seat would creak. The driver's seat, as I would wobble left and right, taking corners, you'd hear a squeaking sound coming from the seat. That is a very annoying nuisance that came with the car from day one. Not something I've ever experienced with this Rivian R1T. So no car is perfect, and the list goes on issues with my Dodge Challenger. From very early on, I had corrosion on my hood latch. I've had a creaking sound when I pull into a driveway and out of a driveway when the temperature is colder than 50 degrees. And that's not just an issue of my Hellcat, that's something that my Challenger Scatpack had back in the day as well. And there's so many other things that I could nitpick about each particular vehicle. If we're talking about Ford, my Bronco had a creaking seat as well. Also, my windows, which were frameless in the Bronco, would constantly have misalignment issues where sometimes I couldn't even roll down the window or roll it up because it was locked in a certain position. And I had to take it back to the dealership or go through a certain series of tests on forums I found online with the window switches in the center arm console. My Toyota Rav4, which is supposed to be the poster child of build quality, that thing had a weird sound coming from the power steering when I was turning the steering wheel. And I took it to the dealership. They didn't really find anything, but it was something I've heard other people talk about when it comes to Rav4s. So it just goes to show that no car is perfect from day one. From the beginning, you're always going to have some sort of issues. And the stuff I talk about today are really small, nitpicky items that really don't impact the driving experience, the safety, or really anything for that matter, aside from maybe just your own OCD. So to finish off this video, I have been very impressed with the build quality of my R1T. It really is impressive considering the fact that they've built only about 100,000 Rivian R1Ts and R1Ss. And considering they've only been around for about 2.5 years, they've done a fantastic job with the interior and exterior build quality of my particular truck. There's not really any issue here that I wouldn't have found in any other new vehicle today, especially when you consider the fact that this is the most technologically advanced vehicle I've ever owned. There are so many electronic components in here, from the software to the screens in the first and the second row, all of the 17 different CPUs located underneath this vehicle. I mean, there's a lot that can go wrong here, and the fact that nothing really has, aside from little things that I pointed out in today's video, is truly an impressive feat. But what are your thoughts on the Rivian R1T? How does this compare to all of the other cars that you've noticed? And if you're an owner of an R1T, let me know down in the comments below what build quality issues you've noticed in your car, because that's going to be very informative for other viewers of this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for all of the weekly videos. Also check me out on all the social media at Schwazy_. Until next time, everybody, I hope you stay Schwazy, stay healthy, have a wonderful day.